The Fleet Racing Tour is the premier Olympic sailing series, and in 2012, it joined some of the most exciting and important events on the road to London 2012. In this tour, we saw some of the traditional boats mixed with the high-speed classes. The World and European Championships of Fleet Racing Tour would be the last chance for many countries qualifying for the Games. So, the top sailors of the RSX, the Star, and the 470 classes gave it all in order to claim the last spot for the London Olympics, as well as the prestigious trophy. The 2012 edition was definitely the most crucial and thrilling. But let's see what happened. The 2012 tour started in Madeira, Portugal, and the RSX Windsurfing European Championship. Some of the top European windsurfers met in this beautiful island of the Atlantic and fought fiercely. And then the tour continued with an even bigger windsurfing event in Cadiz, Spain. Cadiz has a history with more than 3,100 years and might be the most ancient city in Western Europe. Then, the tour visited France and the picturesque city of Hyères for the Star World Championship. Tough battles between the top 20 teams fighting for the last 4 tickets to London. Back to Spain then, and the city of Barcelona that played host to the 4th stop of the Fleet Racing Tour, the 470 World Championship. All eyes were fixed on the event since the athletes would show how they were progressing versus the rest of the teams. Finally, the tour visited Largs and the UK, moving closer to the Games in time and location. The Viking land of the 16th century hosted the European Championship of the 470 class. Now, let's meet the top sailors of the tour. Starting from the Greek windsurfing star, Kokalanis has been performing splendidly in the last Worlds and Europeans and wanted to prove himself once more. Would he manage? Same for the Polish windsurfer, Mierzynski. He was going to represent his country at the London Olympics and wanted to claim a place on the podium in both the Worlds and Europeans of the RSX class. Among the top, we also found Dorian van Dijsselberg, the 2011 World Champion. He was the favorite to win the title once again. Some good chances for the Israeli. Mashaya Nimrod was performing really well until then, and could be for sure in the top 3. Nick Dempsey and Julian Bonton had similar good chances as well. So, tough battles were expected in the 2 first stops of the tour. In the women's fleet, nobody could dispute Korzit's superiority. Klepotska and Senzini had to prove themselves. Let's move to the 470 class, where the Aussies, Belcher and Page, won the 2011 world title easily and wanted to repeat their success. Would they make it? In the women's fleet, the Dutch team of Westerhof and Berghout were on top form and would, for sure, lay claim to the title. However, the Brits, Mills and Clarks, would not be an easy rival. Even if they started really bad at the beginning of the championship, they would strike back. In the star class, Simpson and Percy wanted to make the comeback after their bad result in the 2011 Worlds, while the Brazilian team of Scheidt and Prada wanted to duplicate their success. Fierce battles were expected in France. What would happen at the end? Let's move to the last stop of the Fleet Racing Tour in beautiful Largs, where the best teams were all there to claim the victory. Among them, the Croatian team of Fontela and Modanic, the bronze medalists at the World Championship in Barcelona. Even if they were the favorites, they would have to sail really good in order to beat the pair of Sheremetyev brothers from Russia, which seemed to be in good shape. Same for the Greeks. Papadopoulos and Kambordidis are going to represent their country in the London Olympics 2012 and wanted to place themselves in the top 3 at this event. Fierce battles in the women's fleet were expected as well. The Croatian duo of Ninsevic and Zupan seemed to be on top form. However, the teammates of the 2012 World's gold medalists, Vegelin and Ainsworth, cannot be underestimated. This championship is a great opportunity for them to prove that they are among the top. Same good chances for a place on the podium for the Slovenian pair. At the same time, Bachmann and Panuchka from Germany would fight for the gold as well. Now, let's travel to the first stop of the Fleet Racing Tour in order to quickly review what's happened in the RSX Europeans. Madeira played host to this major event and provided ideal weather conditions for the races. Mirazinski fought against Kokolanis, Nimrod, and his compatriot Mizka until the very last moment in order to maintain his lead. Mashaya lost some precious points at the end, giving Greeks Kokolanis the chance for second place. Kokolanis was the windsurfer with the most stable performance, but that wasn't enough to place him in the lead. In the women's fleet, Marina Alabau had a strong lead of 24 points, which meant a first place and her 5th European title without even needing to race in the medal race. At the outside, Nimrod could claim a performance as steady as Mirazinski's, but he didn't stay at this level for long. He had some average results after the 7th race. On the other hand, both Mizka and Bontan may not have started out that well, yet managed to improve consistently during the last 5 races. So, in the women's fleet next to Alabau, we saw David Ovic from Israel and Tuli from Finland, while in the men's fleet, the Greek champion was among the 2 Polish, Mizka and Mirazinski. Back in Cadiz, the RSX Worlds, the strong winds of Levante gave the sailors a hard time while fighting to qualify. Kokolanis and Nimrod were trying hard to prove that they could do better than the Europeans, but the weather conditions were really aggressive. Lee Korzitz from Israel was the clear leader, and in the female fleet, Klepatska could not dispute her superiority. Even Senzini with her impressive 5 bullets could not reach her. Her stable performance was what mattered at the end. Back to the male fleet, where in the last day of the event, Dorian started the day as the leader, but had a really bad day finishing 4th in the rankings. Same for Kokolanis, that from 2nd went 5th. What a disaster for both athletes. For sure, they will try to do better in the Olympics. However, the weather conditions in Weymouth will be once again tough. So, they should improve their skills if they want to beat Bontan and Dempsey, who are now the absolute leaders. In the women's fleet, Korzitz managed to maintain her lead with an average performance, and Senzini attacked back with 3 bullets. But her bad start in the event did not give her any chances to claim for gold. Let's have a look at the results. In the men's fleet, the surprise belongs to Bontan. After a bad performance in Madeira, was now 1st in front of Dempsey and JP Tobin, who also had a great event and was finally 3rd. Korzitz, Klepatska, and Senzini were the ones to win the medals in the female fleet. This was a very special moment for Lee Korzitz from Israel, who became world champion for the 2nd time in a row, and for Zofia Klepatska, who doubled up her runner-up position. Time now to head a bit north, to Hyères, for the 3rd stop of the Fleet Racing Tour, the Star World Championship, hosted by France this year. Hyères is this magnificent town in the south, only a few kilometers from the Mediterranean Sea. Many extraordinary athletes have gathered in the oldest resort on the French Riviera. Among them, some are clear favorites for the first place, such as the pairs of Scheidt and Prada from Brazil and the UK's Percy and Simpson. Several countries will be fighting for one of the last 3 remaining tickets to the Olympics here in Hyères. Among them, Croatia, Greece, Denmark, Spain, and New Zealand. The battle for the top spot, however, would be decided on the second day, and a terrible mistake from Scheidt would play its part in this. The last downwind had some suspense, with Marazzi giving it all in order to overpass Scheidt, who was leading the race until the very end. And some jibes in the last few meters, the Swiss finished first, with the Brazilian not able to believe how he lost this bullet. But let's hear some words from Scheidt himself, with his own perspective on all of this.
The plan was to start in the windward side and to tack towards the beach. We saw there was more wind and a shift, and we did that, and it was the right thing to do. So we managed to finish the first upwind in the top 10, which is very good in this condition. Made some good decisions, climbed up to first, and then at the finish, after a few jibes, we lost to Marazzi. I think we should have not jibed too much. I think the moment we jibed with him, we lost a bit of ground, and in the end, he managed to come from behind with a little bit more pressure and beat us in the line. So, but we're happy. I think we had a great day. It's very hard out there, a lot of shifts, and it's very easy to do bad in one race. So we're happy with the second we had today.
There were also frequent shifts in weather conditions too. Light winds giving their place to strong winds, then back again to light winds again. Everything changed all the time. The top teams had to be very careful with their equipment and their trimming. Really stressful days for some of them, with Percy, Scheidt, Rohart, and Stanczyk performing splendid in the windy conditions. Same for Kuznierowicz. The choppy waves of Hyères were difficult to ride. However, they are all masters in this and proved themselves. A lot of boats had some damages at the same time as well. And then the last day, the battle of the top 2 pairs. The team of Percy and Simpson against Scheidt and Prada. Brits versus Brazilians for the prestigious trophy. Percy was leading in the ranking by 5 points. However, he knew that his worst race was 17th, with Scheidt having a better one. So, if they finished behind 15th, he would lose. The Brazilians started the race near the Brits and tried to stay on top, always in fear of the Irish, that could steal the second place from them. When they felt sure that O'Leary and Burrows were behind 15th, then it was time to strike back and block the Brits. Until the very end, with both finishing behind 20th, it meant that Scheidt and Prada were the 2012 World Champions. Let us now have a look at the final results for the Star World Championship. 4 countries received the ticket for the Olympics here in France. They were Croatia, Greece, New Zealand, and Denmark. Bravo to all the athletes involved. The prize ceremony will be our last image from Hyères, with the trophy going to the Brazilians. They managed to become world champions for the second time in 6 months after their success in Perth. Will they make it at the Olympics? Let us now travel to Spain, where the 4th stop of the Fleet Racing Tour and the 470 Championships were taking place in Barcelona. The capital of Catalonia, the city of Barcelona, was made even more beautiful in presentation for the Olympic Games in 1992. But efforts, especially relating to the infrastructure for sports events, didn't stop there. Proof is the new Barcelona International Sailing Center, an impressive venue by any standard, and fully equipped to host major championships and events. The best 470 teams gathered here in the event. The pairs of Westerhoff-Burkhout and Mills-Clark would battle it out until the very end for the Women's Championship. When it came to the men, a different story unfolded. For the Australian pair of Belcher and Page, it proved to be a cakewalk. On the other hand, for the duo of Mills and Clark, it would not be that easy. They made a terrible mistake right at the start, starting over early. In major events like this, where each team can discard 2 races, 1 out of the disqualifications and 1 out of the finals, a disqualification can be catastrophic. Would they now manage to recover? Meanwhile, in the men's race, the Aussies scored a bullet. And it would not be the only one in this championship. The second day was a different story. A day of medium to strong winds and fierce battles all around. While in the men's fleet, Fontella and Maranic had some great results. In the girls' races, Westerhoff and Berghout managed to take the lead. However, all teams were really close. Few points of difference between them created a lot of suspense and expectations for the 3 days of the finals, where the top would sail together in one fleet. Everything could change. This championship wouldn't just decide a gold medal and the world champion. Let us not forget, the last tickets for the Olympics would also be awarded here. For the men, only the 3rd ticket was left to be decided on the last day of the qualifications races, and would finally go to the energetic South Africans. For the women, the field was wide open for all 3 spots until the very end. The last 3 days during the finals, there were 4 teams left: Denmark, Russia, Austria, and Croatia, with the Danish duo having a safe lead. However, they all knew that they had equal chances on these 3 last spots, and they were giving it all in these last races. Every detail counts here. Let's hear what the girls have to say about this.
So now we are number 7 and looking for the Olympics qualification. We're leading the pack, but I mean we still have 5 races left, so we want to keep fighting every single race. And looking at the results, it looks good, but you're never certain until the last race.
We are now on 20th position, and we are a 3rd country for getting a ticket. I think that we are able to secure our ticket to Olympics.
We are now the 5th qualified country in the ranking, but we still have 4-5 races.
Our tactics will be just to sail as good as we can, so we will not do any much racing or something like this. We will try to do our best, and then we'll see. Everything is very close, and the regatta just begins for us.
In the final days of the championship, despite swelling waves and close to 0 winds, it was the Austrians who won it, leaving the Russian pair out. Let's hear what they have to say about their success.
We fight every race for every point because we knew it's gonna be tough, and at the end we made it.
The women's medal race unfolded with Clarks and Mills starting on the pin end. In the upwind mark, Lecointe and Geron found themselves first, with the Brits and the Kiwis on their heels. Who would be the world champion? The Dutch were last. What a bad surprise. Nothing could change now. The Brits came second in the race behind the French and won the title. The men's final was now taking place, and it's Fontella and Maranic against the Lindgren brothers. The Croatians managed to block the Finns at the start of the race. Not a good start for Nicholas and Jonas Lindgren. But they didn't give up and headed to the right side of the race course. The Croatians finally managed to round in front of the Lindgrens. That was it. They maintained their lead until the end and saw themselves third. Let's have a quick look at the leaderboard now. The time has come after the efforts of the last few days for the winners to receive their trophies in a great ceremony put together by the Spanish hosts. Let's travel now to the last stop of the Fleet Racing Tour in beautiful Largs. Largs is a beautiful seaside town, only about 30 miles from Glasgow. Here is where the Scottish and Norwegian armies clash in the Battle of Largs about 800 years ago. Now, it's one of the most known seaside resorts of Scotland, and so it would be the ideal location for this major sailing championship. The best teams are all here to claim the victory. However, the racing week would be a tough one due to the various wind conditions that prevail in this location. All the teams know that, and careful preparation would be of utmost importance. Trimming and tuning can be crucial for one's performance in long events like this, especially due to the stormy and shifty weather that can cause lots of ups and downs. Discarding one race of 12 is not enough for the risk takers. But let's see how the event unfolded. The first day was a tricky one with light to medium winds, bringing Sparks and Kohler, and Bachmann and Panutska on top. However, the strong breeze in the forthcoming days was ideal for the Croatians, Fontela and Maranic, and the Slovenians, Mrak and Cern. Same good performance for the Germans and the Greeks. All of them are going to represent their countries at the London Olympics, and this is the last chance to prove themselves and improve their skills. At the same time, claiming victory here is quite significant, and all are in it to win it. The last 3 days of the championship had it all: rain and sun, light and strong winds, and a lot of ups and downs. The Croatians were leading until the end, placing themselves always in top 6. However, they did a terrible mistake at the 7th race, starting over the line, and were disqualified, giving the chance to the Russians to decrease their distance. And then, at the pre-last race ahead of the medal race, they were penalized by the jury, losing precious points. However, they managed to score a bullet at the end, securing their leading position. So, the Russians would have to battle it out with the Brits for the silver medal. In the women's fleet, the top 3 teams were too close from start to end. Wegelin and Ainsworth had an unlucky race as well, scoring a 13th, which they would discard. At the same time, the Slovenians were not so stable during the championship and were in 3rd position ahead of the medal races. However, the distance to the gold was too close and everything was still at stake. Slight chances for the Croatian pair of Ninčević and Zupan, who were now 4th. At the last day of the event, the medal race did not bring significant changes in the women's fleet, except for the Slovenian success to overtake the Germans and steal the silver medal. In the men's fleet, the wind abated, and even if the race committee tried hard, there was no other choice than abandoning the race at the end. Let's have a quick look at the results. The Croatians were the 2012 European champions, with the Brits and the Russians behind. As for the women, Wegelin and Ainsworth finally won, the Germans 3rd. Congratulations to the winners! That was it. The 2012 edition of Fleet Racing Tour was an exciting one, with strong battles at the RSX Worlds and Europeans in Cadiz and Madeira. The Star Class offered some glorious moments with the battles of Scheidt against Percy. The last race will be remembered by many, with the Brazilians dominating over the Brits for a 2nd time in a row. Will they make it at the Olympics as well? And then the 470 Worlds and Europeans, Barcelona and Largs played host to these great events. The Aussies were the clear leader in the Worlds, with the Brits winning the female fleet. Same success for the Brits and the Europeans, with Wegelin and Ainsworth proving their superiority. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.